a little enlightening. It'll make you grow.
Hey guys, good evening and good morning to the people in the US. So we have Sanjana Buddi who is joining us, live from the US. She is the director of Pure Youth, which is into youth Femme category, and she is driving a lot of activities across India and a couple of other countries which need a lot of support. She is also very happy that Pure is celebrating the 5th anniversary, and a lot of activity happened last week. So let's get to hear about why Sanjana got into Pure and what really motivates her. And before that, for the friends who are watching this and who don't know Sanjana yet, we would love to know more about Sanjana as to what you like, where are you from, where are your roots from. So over to you, Sanjana.
Hey everyone, my name is Sanjana Buddi. I am a sophomore at Rutgers University here in New Jersey, USA. I was born and raised in Princeton. I spent my whole life here. I absolutely love New Jersey. And although I spent my freshman year of college in DC, I had to come back. So transferred back to the state school. I am Telugu, so I have Indian roots. I am from Andhra Pradesh. My family is from Andhra Pradesh. I visited a multitude of times. And of course, I love going back. I love volunteering. And if we want to talk about why I began volunteering, it actually comes because of my roots. So in 2015, I had the opportunity to go to India, see some family members, and we decided to go to my dad's hometown, which is a very, very small village. And I realized there are a lot of buildings here, like I can't see a school, and we started to drive past this rundown building, and I was like, okay, what is this building? Why does it look like it's falling apart? And my dad tells me that that's the school that he attended and the school that the kids in the village still attend. So I was like, I felt so disheartened to think that there were students actually studying in such an atmosphere. And I realized I had to get involved, but I really didn't know how to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Miss Hema, the CPO of Pure, my mother, she actually was listening to a radio and she was on Facebook and she was able to connect with Miss Shaila Taluri, the CEO of Pure. And we realized that we need to set up a youth wing in order to help children in America get more into volunteering and helping give back to people all over the world. So my journey with Pure started June of 2017,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been with Pure for almost 4 years now. And so I'm really happy to be celebrating Pure's 5th anniversary, which we celebrated last week. It went absolutely amazing. We had Upasana as the special guest. I was able to receive an award from her, and it's just been such a great journey because I've been able to grow as a leader, as a better communicator, public speaker, and just self-growth, and then helping out hundreds of thousands of students is also just so motivating, and it gives you a real purpose to your life.
Okay. When you talk about youth, kids in your category or maybe much younger than you, how do they connect? Once you talk about giving back or volunteering or joining this particular mission, so how do they generally react? What are the things you face?
So this is actually this is like a lot of parts, right? So when we're first talking about kids getting involved, it's usually not the kid that hears from social media or something because they typically don't have connections. So it'll be the parent that comes, right? So there's a parent and she has kids about maybe 5 years and 8 years old that wants to just get the kids involved in volunteering. So they come to our events. Maybe they'll help us sell cookies at like a bake sale, or they'll have us help us wrap things up for our office to lunch fundraisers. And then from there, they'll actually start to get more involved. They like coming to these events. For them, it's fun to be involved. It's fun for them to be able to be active and running around, helping us get things, putting things up, right? So they have just a natural love to just be active and give back and volunteer. And I actually have the best story to tell. And it's one of the stories that inspires me to continue volunteering. One of my volunteers while I was Pure Youth's student director, this was a few years ago, we went to a bake sale and I was able to help set up and I was doing all my volunteering stuff. And one of the kids in our youth chapter, Pranav, he was doing his work and his mom said, okay, let's go. We've already volunteered 3 hours. It's dinner time. I'll take you back. And instead of going with his mom, right, he could have gone home, watched TV, had dinner. He said, no, I want to stay here and volunteer. So now we're talking about a fifth grade child willing to stay back to help out and even like give back more than he's already given back. So that was, I just stopped because I was like, this is someone who's maybe like 10 or 11 years old
Mhm.
that actually wants to continue to give back and is learning at such a young age. And so if somebody that young understands the importance of volunteering, I hope that kids my age and people that are older obviously also understand how important it is to give back time and money. So these kids tend to be the most dedicated ones. They don't always know how to make flyers and things, but they help out a ton.
Okay. You're the director of Youth Femme. So why did you choose this particular category? And what all stuff comes into this particular category of Youth Femme? What are the things you could contribute back in this category?
So, when you think of basic necessities, right? So you think like, I say, what are 5 crucial things that you need to survive, right? You might say, okay, well, you need water, you need shelter, you need clothes, you need food, a clean environment, right? So that's the first thing that comes to your mind, the five. And as a woman, that's the first 5 things that come to my mind as well. However, when I'm donating, I'm also thinking like, okay, so this is what I have to donate because this is what people need. I have to donate, food. I have to donate water, clean water. I have to donate like clean clothes and all that. It never hit me, even as a woman, that people who experience homelessness or people who are underserved
Mm.
need feminine hygiene products. Like there, as a woman, I am menstruating once a month for the rest of my life. I mean, until I hit menopause, right? So I never realized that there are women out there that don't have access to pads. They don't have access to tampons, Dixie cups, all these products that I can simply go walk 2 minutes, go to my closest grocery store and pick up different brands of pads. I can pick up different products for menstrual hygiene. People don't have access to a single product. And I didn't even realize that as a woman. That's how the taboo affected me, right? So I'm in my own house. I can barely talk about periods because I feel embarrassed. I feel like, oh no, like my dad's there. I shouldn't talk about it in front of him. It'll make him feel uncomfortable. I can't ask him to go out and buy me pads. I can't, like, I have to go on my own. I have to buy my own products. And there's women out here that can't even afford to buy products. There's women out here who don't even have access to these products. And when I started to do research, even within the United States, we have 40 million people that lack access to sanitary products. And that number,
Seriously,
sorry,
40 million? Seriously, in the US?
yeah, I know. I was just as shocked. Think about like 40 million people who need this once a month, right? So your period can last from 3 to 7 days. You need this once a month, and 40 million people don't have access to it. And we still tax these products. That's what's crazy. This is
Mhm.
not, I don't choose to bleed. I don't choose to bleed. This is a biological process. And I still have to pay a tax to get the products that I need. How crazy is that?
That's a good point. Yeah. Why is it getting taxed? Yeah. If,
Right?
if I think about it now, even I don't have answers for it. Why is it getting taxed?
Exactly. And that's why, so as a political science minor, I think it's very important to get involved with your legislature, get involved like politically, stay active, make sure you fight against unnecessary taxing, right? And again, so I realized that there's so many problems related to menstruation, so many problems related to opening up the conversation, and then just giving the products that people need to underserved communities. So when we start, it's like, okay, one, when we start the conversation, first we bring girls aside and then we talk about periods. Why are we not including all genders
Yeah.
in the conversation? It's not something that just affects women. This is something that affects, this is the world that is being affected by menstruation, right? Because girls are dropping out of schools. Girls are not getting their education because of this. We need to include all genders. So we need to normalize the conversation, end the taboo, right? So one thing that Pure is doing right is that we're including boys in the education. Sometimes boys will tease girls. They'll be like, "Oh, haha, you're bleeding," or God forbid somebody like accidentally bleeds through their clothes. They get made fun of, and I'm like, this. It's something natural. It's not like she can avoid this. Why are you making fun of her? And it's because they don't know about what menstruation is, what periods are, because we've created a taboo for that. So opening up the conversation, including everybody in the conversation, then going that next step and providing pads to these girls, that's what's going to help end the taboo. Because even if we just affect one girl, let's think about like long term. That's going to affect a few of the people in her community. That's going to affect her future generations. That's going to affect how they talk about periods, how they feel comfortable around each other, comfortable within their own bodies, and then understand the importance of clean hygiene and like period products, of course.
Good. So, all this with good intention, you go ahead and execute this.
Mm-hmm.
Did you any time face, challenges where your intention is good, you want to deliver the products, but the receiver, the people whom you want to change, the girls or their parents are like, no, we've been doing this for generations like this. We don't want to switch to pads. Or the school saying यहाँ पे ऐसे ही चलता है, माँ स्कूल ला गया हो तो नम्मा, so we don't need washrooms, we don't need to stock sanitary pad. Do you face this, and how do you handle it? Because you're one of those senior kids at a college level. I thought I should ask you this particular question.
Yeah, no, thank you. I don't mean to call anybody out for this, but I surprisingly faced this from one of Pure Youth's ambassadors' moms. So that shows that there are flaws within people in the United States as well, right? We have to call each other out for this. So this happened last year. I started, this is my like, first month starting feminine hygiene. I'm all riled up. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get this done. We're gonna help out this many girls. We're gonna raise thousands of dollars. And we're gonna help so many kids, right? Then I had an ambassador's mom reach out and say, no, this chapter is primarily boys, and we don't feel comfortable talking about periods. We don't want to talk about periods. So we will not be fundraising for this specific cause. We want to fundraise for something else peer related. And I felt really mad. I have to be honest, I was so shocked that the backlash was not coming from the girls in these schools, right? They're not the ones that feel uncomfortable. It's coming from a parent within our own organization, a woman, that's saying that she doesn't want to introduce her teen boys to this topic. So I had to take a step back and I was like, Miss Hema, what is going on? What is this? I didn't realize this would be one of my new hurdles. So I decided to sit down with the ambassador's mom, with the auntie, and I said, listen, we don't want to be going out there and preaching something and then having to come back and then teach it to our own people. When you say that you don't want your teen boys to help out women simply because it doesn't directly affect them, you're saying that their problems are insignificant. Period-related problems don't matter or they don't exist. By not introducing them to the topic, you're not helping them grow as men, right?
I agree.
So we have it might not directly affect you, but it's still a problem, right? It's still a problem that we need to address. So the way that I explained it was, one, we're not making these boys talk about menstruation or the exact process of the eggs going through the fallopian tubes. No, we're not doing that. We're just talking about donating so that girls can have pads for their periods. You don't have to go about the process. You don't have to talk about it. I'm not even making you give like presentations on it. I just need you to fundraise so that some girl out there will continue her education with dignity, with access to the products that she needs, and will feel a little more comfortable with her body during an already distressing time, because you're dealing with cramps, bloating, you might have some mood swings, hormonal changes. Giving her a pad, a clean bathroom, right? And just like some comfort with her own body is the least that you can do as an ally to the female community, to all women or all people and genders that menstruate. So that was one of the most surprising hurdles for me, trying to convince people within my own organization the importance of coming together to support the feminine hygiene cause. And then, of course, we have other hurdles, right, within these developing countries, where you have, let's say we give them pads. They don't have clean bathrooms, right? That's a problem. You don't feel comfortable changing your pad in these bathrooms if they're not clean. You don't have access to clean water. So how do you stay hygienic? Just because you have a pad doesn't mean you can stay fully hygienic. How do you not, like, you need clean water, is what I'm trying to say. And then finally, girls, what they would do is they wouldn't have access, like, here in America, we have toilet cans and, what do you call it? Not toilet cans, trash cans in our bathrooms. So we can just dispose of the pad after we use it. In a lot of these schools, they don't have that. So girls would have to walk halfway across the school to throw it out in a garbage bin, and they'd feel embarrassed because who wants to carry a bloody pad across the school in front of everybody, right? So we started to see these problems arise once we started giving pads. So we had great intentions, right? Giving these pads, going to help these girls out. And then we were completely blinded by the fact that, okay, so they don't have clean toilets. Okay, they don't have clean water. Okay, they don't have a proper place to dispose it. So we started to come up with ways like the incinerators, where they can just drop it in there, it'll burn, it won't take as long to decompose in a landfill, for example. Or we put like trash bins, or we make sure that they have clean bathrooms. That's really important. So having like hygienic spaces, and then of course clean water is one of Pure's biggest initiatives, and it's so important. So that's one thing we always make sure our students have.
Yeah, I like that idea of providing a solution. Just not about the trash can, but also the incinerator. I think that will still make sense. I stay in a gated community,
Mm-hmm.
a very premium gated community,
Yep.
but I still see dogs of one of the neighbors. The dogs dig into the trash can which is kept outside the home, and these sanitary pads, the bloodied sanitary pads, are the first things the dog try to take it out and rip it apart. And that's
Uh-huh.
definitely not the scene you want to see in the school or your neighborhood or anywhere. So yeah, beautiful idea. I mean, if you're able to get the incinerators at the school and get some trash cans in the toilets, I think that would be awesome. Super. So when can we change the entire world, especially within the developing countries? I mean, I'm surprised that US is also in the list. So
Yep.
yeah, where do you
Um,
see the light and how is it going?
So the way that I look at this, right? So I'm helping out a few girls here and there at schools, right? I actually just hosted a webinar, a menstrual education seminar in the Caribbean, one of our first ones in Barbados. I was able to talk to girls
Wow.
that were 11 to 12 years old. And it was really funny because when we were talking about periods in America, we might say like Aunt Flo came, like referring to like the flow as the period.
Mhm.
So they used terms like ketchup in
Oh,
instead. So that was fun. I was like, oh, that's so interesting that you guys use different words to refer to your periods. And the biggest thing, because they speak English, so there was no language barrier there. And when we were talking to them, they actually start to ask us questions. So they were also curious. They didn't have resources to ask people these questions. They didn't know what was considered normal with their periods and what wasn't, because they were never given access to this education. So when they start to ask us questions, I felt so happy because they felt comfortable enough to discuss this with us. But that's one school, right? We have like hundreds of thousands of millions of schools that we have to go and help. And my thing is that this is not something that I'm going to be able to change. I'm not going to be able to go out and change the entire world's perspective around feminine hygiene. But I do know that this can be generationally changed. So my generation, the way that we approach menstruation, the way that we approach periods, the way that we talk about periods, if we change our mindsets, we change the way that we approach the whole idea of buying pads, giving back, establishing, a normalization around this topic, our kids will learn. And from there, we can set up generations that just completely think of this as normal. In their lives, it's just periods are just something that you just regularly deal with. Everybody has access to pads in their communities. Nobody's left, feeling insecure about this completely normal biological process. And that's not going to come with just, one volunteer or even a whole nonprofit, right? That's going to come with changing our mindsets. And if I help, let's say, 1,000 girls,
mhm.
that's going to help, I hope, another 1,000 people in the future, right? So definitely very, very long term, not something that I can change on my own, but I'm hoping for generational change.
So the youth who are joining your team, what do they look for? When they're looking at Sanjana, what do they look for from Sanjana?
So this is great. Thank you for introducing my team. I actually work with a closed group of students. We have four students. So we have Anaga Taluri, Abi Taluri, Samira Boga, and Ritvik Bogaku. They are the most dedicated students that I have ever worked with in my pure journey. So these students, whenever I ask them to do anything, right, immediately get it done for me. I can never ask anything more of them. And especially from Aniga Taluri, who is going to be our next CEO of Pure, I swear. She is such an active volunteer, let me tell you. Actively goes out to get grants. She makes sure to whether it's reaching out through emails, she sends out emails, calls, whatever she can to get access to free supplies. So like bras, clothes, pads. And she just immediately goes and drops it off at shelters, places that need it. And she's such an active volunteer, and she's only in high school. So she's younger than me, and she stands as an inspiration to me because she takes like all of her free time. She basically spends it just dropping off these pads, dropping off all these supplies. And every week I feel like I see something new. She's giving interviews. She's doing like such a great job as a youth activist that she inspires me, right? And these kids, when they look at me, I want to be everything that they want to see in themselves, right? So I want to be a good public speaker for them. I want to be someone who's a role model. I want to be someone who stands as like a feminine hygiene activist for them. I want to be like, someone who thinks like two steps ahead. What else can we do in the community? What else can we work on? Where can we work? Right? So they say they want to work in more countries in Africa. Let's do that. They want to start working in their local communities. We're already doing that. So I want to be their like stepping stone almost, so they can use me to grow as well. I want to see them excel. And so I want to be someone who they can rely on, someone who gives them connections to see, like, make sure that whatever they want to do, especially volunteering wise, happens. And I want to be someone who always has their back no matter what.
So Pure started with the last generation, and I see a pretty strong next generation being built up. Who can take this particular legacy forward, legacy in terms of giving back to the society. So pretty strong, pretty good. I like that. So we have some comments and compliments for you coming in. So we have Arshu is saying warm welcome, Sanjana. Great to see you. Keep rocking. Lata Kopuri is saying, Sanju, keep rocking and continue to change the world. Your passion and energy is contagious, Sanju. You are going to be the future leader to bring the change in women's world.
Oh.
Fazila Haseen. In South Africa, we have these campaigns as well. Big chain pharmacy keep packs of pads at the cashier, and the cashier promotes the sale. Works well here. So, Fazila, awesome idea. That's really good. So, putting it at the counter, at the cashier counter.
Yep.
So, I think she's not part of Pure, but that's a very good idea. So, you have a counterpart, future counterpart for Pure South Africa joining in here. So,
Yeah.
Lata Kopuri is saying, Sanju, you have to create more Sanjus to spread the change throughout the world, and you can do it. So, Sanju, you have to make more Sanjus to spread the world, and you can do it. Okay. So, Arshu is saying best wishes for the team. And Lata is also saying you're already a role model and keep inspiring people. So these are a few of the comments and compliments. But friends who are watching it, your compliments, your comments, encouraging Sanjana and the team would really help them, going. So
Yeah.
my next question. So what makes you keep going on? The energy, where does it come from? And how do you ensure that whenever there are times when things are not working out, how do you cope up and get back to action?
Yeah, so
Not
I
Pure
guess
style. I personally want to know what is Sanjana's style of coming back to action.
right. So I'm gonna be really frank and honest with you. When I was a first part of Pure, I was pushed by Miss Hema. I was pushed by my mom, and she was the one that was like, okay, you have to do this, you have to do that, do this fundraising, do that fundraising. And a lot of the work that we did was overseas. So I wasn't able to directly see the impact. I'd see pictures, I'd be like, okay, that's great. We set up a school. Okay, that's great. We did like some dining hall. We set it up. Okay. I had the opportunity to actually go to India right before my senior year. And when I talked to these students, oh gosh, it was so heartbreaking to think that I couldn't just fully fund their education. Like, why can't I sell off the house, sell off the cars, sell off everything I have? Like, I just want to go and make sure that these kids get into college and go through college and get jobs and are successful and happy. Like, the impact that just going and talking to these students, talking to them about their problems, talking to them about how they're scared that they can't afford to go to like inter, right? So like 11th and 12th grade in India, talking about how they can't afford to go to college, or how even actually the second school that I went to in India, I was heavily jet lagged. It was a 4-hour drive from Hyderabad, and I remember just seeing how happy the teachers were that they had recently gotten a clean water generator, and it broke my heart. So as happy as I was for them, I was like, they're so proud of something that I've taken for granted. And it just set me back, right? So I'm like thinking, how bad can the situation be at these schools? And I don't expect it to be that bad. So when I actually went firsthand, saw these schools, talked to these teachers, talked to these students, gave them the supplies, I started to realize this is not something that's temporary. This is not something I stop after high school, right? So here in the United States, we have you're required to do volunteer hours, and so that's why I started Pure. That's why I started my journey, because I was like, okay, let's just get these volunteers hours out. Let's help out the community, a little bit of both. I have no requirement to continue with Pure. I'm in college now. Nobody cares if I volunteer. Nobody cares if I'm getting these hours in. Nobody's tracking me. None of that. Simply because I met with those kids. I talked with those kids. I firsthand saw their problems and realized my, 1 hour of work can help out like at least 5 students, then I'll give my time. I might not be able to directly give, $400,000 on the spot, but I can definitely give my time. I can work to help them feel more comfortable with themselves, and I can definitely fundraise for them. And that's exactly what I will do. And there's been times where, right, so I have school. I'm a college student. I'll be like, I'm dealing with midterms. I have to think about internships. I have to think about jobs in the future. And thankfully, my parents are paying for my education, so I don't have to worry about doing a part-time job right now to even take care of myself, right? But there'll be times where I feel like, okay, this is too much. I have to stop Pure. I have to stop this, focus only on work. And then I feel like I've let my team down. Because if I stop, they stop. Because they don't have anyone giving them work. They don't have anybody kind of like leading them. And then I just have to realize that prioritizing Pure is something that gives me happiness. It's something that, it's not work for me. It's something that I do to relax. It's something that I do to make myself feel happy, intrinsic happiness. And once I get back in that mindset, that's what just helps me keep going and helps me keep giving back.
Most memorable moment in one of the activities you were personally involved?
Ooh, okay. Activities wise, so in the United States, I'd have to say it's that first story that I said, the one of Pranav and how he wanted to stay back and give back. I don't know a lot of kids that would do that. I'm gonna be honest with you. As a boy who's 11 to 12 years old, maybe 13, in the United States, I've yet to meet someone else that's as passionate about volunteering, and at that time, because I love my team and they're very passionate, but at that time, that was so surprising to me. That was the most memorable moment. I love telling that story, and I know Pranav is still an active volunteer, so that makes me happy. And going to India and talking, it would be the first school that I went to. I remember coming out of the school and crying. It was a very, very heartbreaking moment because, it's just like understanding your privilege, I would say. So understanding how underserved these talented students are, and seeing the dedication of the teachers, right? So I saw two teachers teaching kids from kindergarten to fifth grade. And I just was like, wow, I can't even focus in my own classroom. If there's like the person walks past the classroom, I'm the first person to like just look, oh, who is it? Right? So I'm such a distracted girl. I can't even imagine trying to learn with like four other grades being taught right next to you. So I came out of that school and I cried. I cried a lot. And I had Miss Sandhya, who is one of our most active volunteers at, I think she's in her 60s. I don't want to insult her. Maybe she looks like she's in her 30s though. She's very active.
She is very.
She's more, she's more active than me. So I should be taking tips from her. And she actually was comforting me. She was like, I know it's hard. Like, don't worry. I didn't have actually it was just me and my sister and a few of the peer volunteers that day. So it was a bit hard for us. It was hard for me to cope. It was hard for me to see that cultural difference, right? So see how underserved these communities were. And crying made me realize how much more I needed to help. So, yeah.
Okay. So how will you manage once you start your work life?
So, again, pure is what brings me happiness. Pure is what I do in my free time to make me, feel happy about myself, feel happy that I'm giving back. And I mean, okay, so let's say I start working a 9 to 5. Okay, come back, I'm already tired. I'm like, okay, I need to just eat something, maybe work out, and then go to sleep. Start my day all over again. Prioritizing the things that make you happy in life is what keeps you going. My work might be from 9 to 5, but I promise you, working as a data analyst or a computer scientist is not going to fulfill me intrinsically. So if you truly like doing something, you truly like volunteering, you're going to make time in your schedule for it. So even if it's just spending, maybe I come back at 5, just, eat something quickly, shower, 7 to 8, what am I doing? Like watching TV? What are you gonna do? From you have like 6 more hours before you go to sleep, right? You can't take 1 hour out of the 6 hours to just have a meeting, put together some flyers, give an interview. Really? So I think when people say like it's hard to manage having like a family, having a life, and also like volunteering in there, I don't think that's true. Because if you really like to do something, okay, let's say you're passionate about cooking, then you're gonna take like the extra hour out to make your favorite dish. Let's say you're passionate about like, cars, you're gonna be watching those YouTube videos, looking at more cars, looking at what the newest model is. And just like that, I'm passionate about volunteering. I'll take that extra hour. I'll stay up that extra hour at night, or I'll wake up an hour earlier in the morning, and I'll incorporate it into my schedule. So, yeah, you'll find time if you're actually dedicated. That's my whole saying.
Super. So, Sanjana, now we have some rapid fire questions so that we get to know you well. Are you all set?
Yes, I'm ready.
Hey, your first question. Now, since you're in the college, you should be aware of this now. Do you think that the aliens exist?
Yes. How are we so small-minded to think that we are the only things to exist in this whole universe, whole galaxy? No, there's definitely some other form of life out there, for sure.
Okay. What's Sanjana's style of gathering news? So, which channel or which media do you rely on?
Oh, I'm so sorry, you cut out. Can you repeat
So
that question?
what's Sanjana's style of watching news? Where do you gather your news, or which channel do you watch to get the news?
This is not affiliated with Pure, but I do watch a lot of CNN. I read the New York Times. Definitely a little more of the leftist media, if I'm going to be honest. So CNN. I love reading BBC news articles because they're so interesting. And then one of my favorite not TV, but YouTube channels to just gather the most interesting facts about what's happening around the world is Vox, VOX, and just gives the most entertaining videos in like 7 to 10 minutes. I learned so much about like Brazilian scandals that I didn't even know were going on, billions of dollars wasted, like government corruption within 10 minutes. So YouTube is such a great source.
So, what's the weird food habit that you have or your friends say in the US, since your roots are from India? So what is that food habit? They say, hey, this is strange.
I guess just like eating with our hands, a lot of people are not used to it.
Hmm.
And like there's a lot of different habits that they're not used to. So the first time I went to my Girl Scout troop leader's house, she told me to keep my shoes on. Because like like it's like taking your shoes off is like I guess like a way of showing that you're too comfortable at somebody's house. But I was so confused. I was like, I just walked all the way outside like in mud and dirt, and now you want me to keep my shoes on in the house? Like as like that's so crazy to me. I mean, I've always been taught like we have like a shoe rack outside. You keep your shoes in the garage. If you bring it inside, that's like the biggest sin. Like have fun cleaning the whole house after that, right? So first thing that was like a culture shock. Eating with my hands, I'm so used to it, right? Like you have annam, like roti, whatever. You eat that with your hands. Like I can't. Even, how do you even eat roti without your hands, right? So that was like probably their biggest culture shock, food wise. And then they're not usually used to like a lot of the vegetables that we
Hmm.
eat. So like bitter gourd. That's not something that they usually incorporate into their dishes, but like we make kora out of it. So that was something that they're like, oh, I didn't even know you could do that, like with a vegetable that like looks like that as well.
Okay. So what is the red flag thing you see society is moving towards, which we shouldn't be, which really scares you or which really worries you?
This is really new. This is something that happened within the first like last week actually, I think. My dad put on a documentary called Seaspiracy. Highly recommend that everybody watches it. It talks about how the seafood industry is so absolutely corrupt. It talks about whaling industries in Japan, the killing of dolphins, slavery in Thailand, and how it fuels the seafood industry in Thailand. It talks about how we're taking away from everyday, what do you call them, fishermen in African coasts, how these huge corporations are just killing people because it's easier to kill them than have their whole truths be exposed. And then it talks about how ethical fishing is not actually ethical. And I've sworn, and I'm gonna stick to it because I've never really liked seafood anyways. I'm not eating seafood. I will not be supporting the seafood industry. Please watch the documentary. It has so many scary facts, like the fact that we won't have fish in
Hmm.
our oceans if we continue the way that we're going
Yeah.
in 2048. That's crazy.
Okay. So yeah, that's been in the list suggestions for a while. I wanted to see it. I think I should take time out and watch it. So yeah, highly recommended. Yeah, I really like some of these documentaries which bring out the truth. Uh, Next question. So with respect to actors, your favorite actors and actresses from India, Tollywood and Bollywood.
Oh, this is tough. Okay, so I feel like growing up, I had to be a Mahesh Babu fan, right? So like my whole family is Mahesh Babu fans. I have to be a Mahesh Babu fan, and then Allu Arjun comes into the game, right? Like hardcore. And his acting style, his comedic sense, right? Just the way that he approaches films is so entertaining. I'm a hardcore Allu Arjun fan, and especially like with movies like Allah Vaikunthapuramulo, like the way that he approaches the movie, his humor, just the way that he acts is just you. I can watch that movie 10 times and not be bored. When I like give recommendations, I say, okay, you want to watch your first Telugu film? Watch an Allu Arjun movie because you will not fail to laugh, you will not fail to cry, you will not feel like you will be entertained in all shapes and ways and forms. So hardcore Allu Arjun, but I grew up a strong Mahesh Babu fan, so there's that.
So, your family might be always relating you with your mom or dad, but anytime did your family felt that within the family it's just not four of you or three of you in the family here, but across the cousins and all that, did anybody pinpoint saying that for him or her you always go out to be very nice? So Sanjana is always very nice to this particular person. It can be a granny, it can be a anybody apart from people who live in the house.
I think my nanama, so my dad's mom, Nobody, I don't think anybody's ever said it, but she is so supportive of me. And she is someone who I will like she could say like come over and I will fly over immediately. I'll be like, I'm dropping everything, forget school, I'll just fly over for her. And she's just the nicest, most supportive person I know in my family. Like more than my parents, more than anything. I know that she will be like defending me with her heart. Like so she'll be like if someone calls me like fat or something, she'll be like like stop talking. Stop talking. That's my granddaughter. You don't say that about her. You can't say that. Or like she's going to do great things. She's going to study. She's studying so hard. She's amazing. My my paternal grandmother, she is such a strong like I feel like she's just the matriarch in my family. In my eyes, she is, right? And she's just someone who I love dearly and someone who I'll always love. I'll never speak against her. If she wants something, I'll just go with it because she just has my complete respect. And I know she loves me, and whatever she wants in life is what's best for me. So I'll go out of my way to do anything she wants.
Super.
Love her.
So we have your mom also complimenting here. You're complete with pure Sanju. So yeah. So apart from your grandmother, you also have your mom who is always backing you up. So
I do.
last question from the rapid fire. What's Sanjana's definition of life? Let's keep pure aside. But what's your definition of life?
My definition of life is that it's temporary, but you can make an impact that affects generations. Right? I'm sorry, I have to tie it back to pure. I am sorry.
No, you're
I
not supposed to.
really
You're
do.
not supposed to. You cannot.
I just, when I think of, okay, so like let's look at my life. I'm a child, I grow up, I go to college, I'll work a job, I'll get married maybe have kids, and then I'll just grow old, retire, maybe travel a little, and then die. Okay, so then I had that one great life. Okay, great. Now let's say I take that life and I take 30 to 40 to 50 years and I give back. It's not just my life I'm affecting then. There's going to be kids that are talking about me years after I die. There's going to be generations that know my name years after I die. That's a life. That's a life right there. When you can say you made permanent change or you initiated generational change, that's what life's about. So life is not just about your life. It's about the lives that you affect. Your life is something that's what, maybe 80 to 90 years if you're lucky. But how you take that life and you help other people, that's what life's about. So not just thinking about yourself, but thinking about how you can make better change, how you were put into this world for a purpose, and how you can change the world for better.
Super. So before we close the show, Sanjana, what is the suggestion you have for people out there?
So I guess I already gave it a little, but it's taking that hour out of your time to give back. If you can't give an hour, give some money. Give some money to a nonprofit whose cause you care about. You've thoroughly researched. That doesn't need to be pure, right? I believe education is the answer to everything. That's what pure stands for, right? People for Urban and Rural Education. You might not believe that. Okay, let's say you want to donate blood. Do that. You want to go and give to a different organization that helps with human trafficking. Go do that. You watch Seaspiracy and you're like, we have to get rid of all of this. Donate to that cause. So it's about taking time out of your everyday to just understand how privileged you are, even to just be watching this. You have to watch from some device. Having that device is a privilege, okay? Having cellular connection, Wi-Fi is a privilege. So understanding that and then taking whatever much you can, I'm not asking for a lot, $5 is enough, and giving back, that's the advice that I can do. Just constantly give back.
Super. God bless you, Sanjana. Thanks a lot for joining us on this show, and congratulations for Pure on completing 5 years and making a large impact on the society. Wish you create more chapters, more Sanjanas. Next generations, this is the second generation. I wish hundreds of such generations, fulfill the ambition of the first, batch of people who've started Pure. So all the best. Do well and rock at whatever you're doing. So
thank you so much.
So friends who are watching, do support Pure. Either with respect to donations volunteer. You can raise funds or be part of the volunteering team. Spread the word out. Volunteer to take some time out and educate at the rural schools. Follow Pure. Even your like and comment will make a lot of difference because you'll be encouraging the team who is actually doing a lot of efforts. That will not take much of time. A few seconds of yours, just the like and comment will make a lot of difference. So thank you, friends. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your day. And if you get a chance, do give back. Thank you, Sanjana.